to Esther from Hazel Park, Michigan. Hello, Esther.
Hi.
WLQV, great station there. How can we help you?
First of all, I wanted to thank you guys for your compassion. You guys are always kind, but the people who answer the phone are just so caring, and I appreciate that so much.
Well, thank
good.
you. Thank you. How can we help you?
I've been married for 17 years, and we have 2 children, and we have had the kind of relationship where there's very little communication from my husband towards me. He brought pornography into our marriage, I know that, and through the years he's hid it, and I thought it was gone, and then it would resurface from time to time. I always knew that his real wife was his mother, and I accepted that through the years, and I've gotten closer to the Lord in the last 5 or 6 years, and he started becoming a preacher in the last 3 years. Then I noticed the signs of adultery. After much fasting and praying, I filed for divorce. And he won't admit it at all. I've spoken to the woman, I've seen evidence, boxes of condoms laying around, and different things that prove it.
Wow.
But he still won't admit it, and he gets very angry the times that I've tried to talk to him.
Tell me a little bit about how does this thing work with him, where he's going down one path, he's getting worse and worse morally, and he's going down this other path. Now he's becoming a minister?
Yes. 3 years ago he started preaching, and that's when I noticed the arrogance escalated, and he started putting a lock on his phone that requires a PIN number to access it.
Who does he preach for? Does he have his own church or what?
The church that we go to, he's an associate minister, but he left the church a few weeks ago because he said that it didn't make sense for us to be going through a divorce, going to the same church. I believe that the other woman was threatening to come up to the church.
Okay, so what's the question for us then?
The question is, how is it, in your professional years of having these many phone calls, how is it that my husband doesn't fear God?
Yeah, well, a lot of reasons for that. And one would be that your husband is a sex addict. So lust is the thing that owns him, not God. And he's driven by an uncontrollable force that he could resolve if he would ever totally surrender his life and surrender up that thing that makes him feel like a man. Most guys like him, and I can guarantee you 100% you're going to tell me this, they don't have other male buddies around them.
Correct.
And so they go out and they try to prove that they're a man with the female image or a female person, and it never works. So when his father was a crummy father and didn't bestow upon him a sense of adequate manhood, lust became the invitation to go prove that he's a man, but he's never and he never will be man enough on his own. Men become men in the company of men. So there's one answer for you of how he can do all this stuff, and it's more important than God.
Okay, but when he comes home from work, he comes home routinely at the same time and plays Holy Father to the children, and we all pray together, and then he goes out and he does what he does.
Because he's not all bad. He's got some good there. But when he goes out, he is he's being controlled by the lust that he's not willing to deal with.
Yeah, it's called compartmentalization. Kind of like he packages it up. He packages you up. He packages the kids up, and he puts them on a shelf so that he can go out the door and do the sexual things that he's doing. It's really confusing when you're married or have been married to a man in ministry. It's very confusing because it feels like, how can this be happening and you be acting this way spiritually and yet have this other, like a dark side and a light side, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so just, I haven't shared this before on the air, but I know I shared it on the one tape that you did at one point. But I am a former wife of a pastor who is a sex addict.
Okay.
So I get the pain. I get how painful it is for you to live in that and wonder, how is he doing this and still being in the ministry? But he needs help. He's struggling with an addiction, and God, at this point, he's so kind of steeped in shame because of sexually acting out that he's not even really having a close relationship with the Lord or anyone else.
Right. Okay.
Esther, with this compartmentalization, your husband could be offsetting the sin by doing something good. So he wants to make himself feel good by proclaiming the Word of God and perhaps trying to offset the sin. If I do something positive, this will help, make God think favorably of me, and others will think favorably of me as well. The other thing that preaching does, it puts you in the up position. You're the authority here. You're in the up position. You're not seated. You're telling everybody else what to do. Nobody's telling you what to do. It's actually taking control. It's a controlling position.
Yeah, hiding.
And I was just going to say that point too. You're hiding behind the Bible. Don't question me.
Yeah.
I'm the authority here. Do not think about asking me about my life. And what it does is it sort of insulates and creates this illusion of insulation that I'm somehow now okay.
Yeah.
And number two, who would question me? I can hide here.
Right.
So what do we do about it? And the answer is that you need to take a group of people. You need to do what Matthew 18 says, where you take your accusations are not enough. You need to take the incriminating evidence, show it to 2 or 3 people, and they need to approach your husband and say, is this true or not? And they need to find out their own answers. If they believe he's lying and he's doing something wrong and he fails to respond to them, then the church as a whole is supposed to rebuke the person and try to increase the peer pressure.
It really calls him out. It brings truth to light.
Right.
And either he's going to walk towards the light and get help, or he's going to go deeper into his darkness.
Now, when's the last time you guys heard of a church doing that?
I do know of one that does it, but it was a couple of years ago. But it's the exception rather than the rule.
And unfortunately, it's the exception rather than the rule, yet it's so clear in Matthew 18 as to something we're supposed to be doing.
And then
it is
sometimes
true.
when it happens, it isn't done well.
Of
and
course.
It's done with anger rather than the desire for a person to change.
But how does, especially if you're married to a pastor, how do you corral those people?
Right.
It's got to be by committee.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I believe you.
Okay, I'll send Esther a copy of Healing is a Choice. I think you're going to need that to heal from this. And we're sorry what you're going through. Anybody that's married to somebody in ministry and you know that they're unfaithful, to stay with them is like giving your vote of approval. If you're going to a church and you know the pastor's unfaithful, when you go to that church on Sunday morning, you're voting yes for that pastor. And, you can stay involved with that church to try to help the church heal or try to help it change without sitting under the teaching of that pastor. And I do not believe in people going to the sanctuary and hearing the teaching of a fallen leader, because it is saying we're all with you. So if there are thousands of people there, everybody says, well, must not be a problem. God's still blessing this ministry. We hear that all the time.